Hello everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian. I am broadcasting to you live from beautiful Budapest, Hungary. I know a lot of people are writing IELTS exams this weekend, so I just want to start off by saying I wish you the best of luck on your upcoming IELTS exam. Remember, stay calm, stay focused, the sun will shine tomorrow. Hi Jeffrey, hi Naeem. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, Jeffrey. How are you? Just a quick audio video check. Can you see the board behind me? Can you hear me okay? Hi, Naitik, one of our sponsors jumping in. That's great to see. Can everybody hear me, see me okay? Just a couple of yes. Thank you, Jeffrey, for that response. Awesome, girls and guys. So today, start of a new month, June 1st, getting into summer. We are continuing with the listening today, coming from test number 6 from our websites. We're focusing on part 3 and 4, not 2 and 3. So part 3 and 4 are the more difficult sections of the listening. All right. So again, for those of you who are really focused on getting a nice high score on IELTS, 6.57 or higher, make sure you visit us on our websites for academic IELTS. It'll be aehelp.com. We're doing lots of great things these days, updating courses, adding new interactive practice tests, so good time to join. For general IELTS, join us at gieltshelp.com. Okay. Again, there's a fully interactive course there for everybody, all of our lesson videos, over 100 hours of videos on these sites, as well as 6 full practice exams. If you're one of our sponsors, please do make sure to send us an email so that we can activate your practice exams, okay? Also, another special announcement for the sponsors, tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central European time, that's 15 o'clock Central European time, we will have a special sponsors chat only for academic IELTS task 1 strategy for maps, okay, and an example. Hi Manisha, good to see you in there. I hope you heard that reminder. All right, again, thank you to all our sponsors on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. If you want to contact me about practice, Skype, IELTS speaking interviews, please send me an email at Adrian, that's my name, at aehelp.com. If you have questions with IELTS, you can also contact me there. Okay, girls and guys, without further ado, let's have a peek at today's questions. So this is section 3, again, coming out of test book number 6. So if you have our materials, that's where you'll find this. The audio, as you can see at the top, is on the website. It's CD6, track number 3. Okay, so again, section 3 a little bit more difficult for sure than section 1 and 2, so you have to be more focused. I was here Arcana yesterday. We did section 1 and 2. I'm not sure if you missed that class. All right, so let's have a peek at these questions and then I'll play the audio. So in the IELTS, you won't get this extra chance. But here I want you to practice a little bit of predicting on the listening section. So let's have a peek at these questions, okay? So questions 21 to 24, choose the correct letters A, B, or C. So these are kind of multiple choice type of questions. How many books has the guest written? 1, 2, or 3. What description does the guest give his book's thesis? A position, radical, intention theory. Which statement best describes the intention theory of art? The author creates an artwork's meaning. The meaning comes from the viewer. There is no meaning outside of the viewer's intention. 24. What is the biggest problem with the intention theory? We do not have access to the mind of the artist. The intention is not our own, so we cannot discern it. It lacks grounding, okay? If there are some words that you don't understand, like discern, for example, a little bit higher level vocabulary, lacks grounding, if you're not sure what that expression means, don't worry about it. You can still get the right answers, so just keep going, okay, in your review time. 25 to 26, fill in the blanks type question, okay? Got to pay attention to your spelling, your capitalization on these types of questions. Write no more than 2 words and or numbers, so it's a good chance that 1 or 2 of these answers will be more than 1 word. According to the host, one of the main goals in art critique is to understand a painting's something, and the intention theory seems best equipped for this task. The guest responds that art is not what we want it to be, that we must also participate in critique and interpretation. 27 to 29, it's a table. Let me get a little bit smaller for you so you can see it all. There you go. All right, so with table type questions and listening, really pay attention to the column headings, okay? These are the columns, these are the rows. Pay attention to the column headings. So this column says situation, this column says intention theory, this section here says subjective meaning theory. So when you're looking at this in the IELTS exam, you should realize that in this part there will be a situation that they're talking about, and then they discuss the intention theory and the subjective meaning theory, which are obviously two different theories. And there's probably a comparison here. So here it says critique is right. Critique is either right or wrong, okay? And you can kind of see that pattern by looking at these columns. All right. And then the last question, question number 30. An art critic is viewing a painting for the first time and wants to critique it using the subjective meaning theory. Determine whether the critic has satisfied the constraints of the theory with regards to his critique of the painting. Write the correct letter A or B next to question 30. So the critic has satisfied the demands, or the critic has not satisfied the demands of the theory. The critic looks at the painting for a moment and concludes from his initial impression that the painting lacks aesthetic value. Okay, good. So here we had a very detailed review of the questions. Unfortunately, in the real IELTS, you will not have a chance to look at questions in this much detail. So you need to practice at home being fast at reviewing questions and picking out keywords and ideas. Now, here, girls and guys, one of the things that you want to pay attention to, of course, is what is going on? What is this listening going to be about? So Ayman, Reno, and all of the sponsors exchanging some words there. Arcana, Manisha, Baljit. What do you think this is about? So what's happening in this listening section 3? Okay, Manisha says it's something about art, sure. Something about books and art. So if you put the two together, then you'll get the idea of books about art. Sure. Jeffrey says it's probably something to do with viewpoints on art, which is a good prediction, specifically if you're thinking some different theories around art. Absolutely. How many people do you think will be speaking here? Is it one person? Is it a monologue? Or should you be planning to get ready for a dialogue here? Yeah, Sudarashan, that was very good. Interview of an author, so interviewing some author. Manisha, you're saying it's the intention and subjective theory of art. Yeah, absolutely. Arcana, you're saying monologue, but you want to pay attention. There were a couple of hints here that it's going to be more than just a monologue. Good luck on your test tomorrow, Pikai. I know that many of you are having tests tomorrow and on the weekend, so I really do wish all of you good luck, okay? Yeah, that's right, Sudarasha. Number 22 says the guest. So if you see something like that, what does the guest say? What does the host say? Then you know that it's going to be some kind of a discussion. Okay, girls and guys, get your pencils and paper ready. We will now actually do the listening, okay? And you will answer the questions as you listen. Please do not write your answers into the chat. Please give everybody a fair chance to answer. We'll go through the answers at the end when section 3 is done. So is everybody ready? I hope so, because we're starting pretty quick here. So I'm just going to jump to our website. This is our academic website with the blue background. If you go to gieltshelp.com, then you will find the general IELTS website with the green background. But today we're going to use the academic one. I'll log in here. Listening is the same for general and academic. Okay, so log in at the top. I'm going at a nice fast pace today, girls and guys. Obviously, listening section 3 and 4 demand a little bit of a faster listening comprehension capability, so don't be surprised. All right. Let's just jump to CD number 6, track number 3. Check my volume settings here. It looks good. All right, here we go.
Now turn to section 3. Take some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Listening, section 3. You will hear a radio host and his guest discussing the virtues of various art forms. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Our next guest is the curator of a major art gallery in the city who has just released his second book on the virtues of art. We're pleased to have Mr. Edgar Patterson here today. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and please call me Edgar.
Edgar, of course. Now, in your first book, published 4 years ago, you focused on performance artwork such as plays, musical concerts, films, and other such works. Your second book is a little closer to home for you. It concerns purely creative fine art.
Well, yes. It deals with the aesthetic virtue of different painting styles.
Okay, so give our viewers a quick rundown on what your book is about. Does it make an argument? I mean, does your book take a position on a certain issue in the world of art?
Yes. My book does take a position, and a rather radical one. The main thesis of my book is that the meaning we associate with a painting exists purely within ourselves. This is in stark contrast to many commentators who believe that the author of a painting gives the painting its meaning. Under this framework, if an artist intends his painting to represent the fear of an orphan child, then this is the one and only meaning such a painting can have. We might call this the intention theory of art. Conversely, my theory is that no matter what the intention of the author is, the meaning of the painting comes from the viewer. The meaning is exactly what the viewer thinks it is. This solves an important problem with the intention theory of art, namely that we do not have access to the mind of the artist, and therefore we do not have access to the painting's meaning at all.
Very interesting, Edgar. But doesn't the intention theory work as a sort of grounding for artistic analysis? What I mean is, while we might not know the meaning the artist intended, isn't the point of art to try to discern this meaning? If art is just whatever we want it to be or feel it as, doesn't that somehow make it less valuable?
That's an astute critique of my position, but one I have an answer for. My response is that art is not merely what we want it to be or feel it as. We can still participate in our critique and interpretation. All I want to say is, in the end, it is up to us to discern the meaning and value of paintings on our own.
You now have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen to the rest of the discussion and answer questions 27 to 30.
Now, let's talk about one type of controversial art, abstract art. How does your, can I call it a subjective theory of meaning?
Yes, that is fair.
Okay. How does your subjective theory of meaning apply to something like modern or abstract art? Art which doesn't tell an obvious story or have a clear meaning. Many people think that such works of art have no meaning at all.
It's certainly an interesting case, but one which my theory is well matched to deal with. You see, abstract art has its critics. Like you say, they think it has no meaning at all. However, other people think abstract works of art have all sorts of meanings. Now, under the intention theory, most of these commentators will be wrong, since the work of art either has a meaning or it doesn't, and if it does, then it only has a single meaning. So under the intention theory, only those critics who discern the specific meaning of the artist will be successful. My theory, however, results in each critic being correct in their own way. For example, if, after critically analysing a certain abstract work of art, I determine it is meaningless, then it is meaningless. Because the meaning of an artwork comes from within, I cannot be wrong, and neither can other people. The critic who sees a metaphor for suffering and the critic who views it as something entirely different are both right. We are all correct in our interpretation, as long as we've given the painting a fair critique.
What do you mean by a fair critique?
Well, I mean it is not enough to merely look at a painting and write it off immediately as meaningless. One must go through a certain process. That said, there are certainly other...
That is the end of section 3. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, so a little bit of a more tricky listening. It's a less physical topic, always more difficult that way. All right, let's go through the answers together and see how you did. Jumping back to the beginning. Okay, so here we go. If you're paying attention to what these two people are saying and you're not getting lost in all of the art terminology, it shouldn't be too difficult. I see UK Sexy that you're having a lot of trouble with this, but I think it's because you're getting lost in too much of the technical aspects. Now, IELTS isn't actually a university lecture, so you don't need to remember the very technical parts. You just have to focus on the intent of what the speakers are saying. All right, let's go look at number 21 here. So how many books has the guest written? Number 21. How many books has this guest written? A1, B2, C3. Okay, a lot of people are saying, well, that's got to be maybe the easiest question of all. It's going to be B2. So make sure in your answer sheet you put the big letter B. Do not put 2. That would be a mistake, okay? If you got B, yeah, it's correct. So the author says, or actually, sorry, the host says that your previous book talked about this, and your second book, which they're discussing right now, talks more about art. So B is correct. What description does the guest give his book's thesis? Number 22. And the speaker actually says this. He's got a little bit of a heavier British accent, but he does actually use this word. Anybody catch the word that he gives? If you're choosing C, you're going to be in trouble because the author's book is absolutely the opposite of intention theory. So his book is not about intention theory. That would be the least appropriate. If you had to guess, you should have been guessing A or B. Okay. Muhammad Wahab, good job there. It's B, a radical position. He says it. He says it takes a rather radical point of view. He actually uses that word. So you really got to focus on that active listening. So if you got B, good for you. So number 1 was B. Number 21 is B. Number 22 is also B. Okay? The author says it takes a rather radical position. Now, girls and guys, if you're a little bit freaked out about the difficulty of this listening, I don't want to scare you, especially since I know many of you writing IELTS exams here in the next 1 or 2 days, but IELTS does have listening that is this difficult, okay? So let's have a look at the next one, number 23. Which statement best describes the intention theory of art? Now here, if you understood the word intention, then you're going to have a lot easier of a time answering these questions if you understand the intention and the subjective theory, the difference. So here, the author creates an artwork's meaning. The meaning comes from the viewer. There is no meaning outside of the viewer's intention. Is it A, B, or C? Girls and guys. And by the way, number 23, even if you don't do the listening, if you didn't hear this audio, you should actually get this. Okay, you should be able to get the right answer here without listening, just by logic alone. Okay, so pay attention to logic. What does intention mean? What is the meaning of this word? So maybe some students don't understand it. If somebody can help those students that don't understand what intention means. What's an easy way to describe that word intention? Yeah, very good, Jeffrey. Another way to say it is purpose, right? So purpose, sure. Okay. The aim, Talha, that's right. So what we want to do. So think about that. If it's the purpose theory or the aim or what we want to do, the goal, it makes sense that A is the correct answer. The author creates an artwork's meaning. The author creates the purpose of the artwork. The author creates the goal meaning of the artwork. It's the only one that makes sense. Okay? Exactly. Intention, Manisha, to convey a message. Right? So it makes sense that A is the correct answer there. All right? If you don't have the word intent or intention in your vocabulary, you definitely want to up your vocabulary for IELTS, okay? That can make things a lot more difficult. Okay, number 4. So this was A, okay? Number 24. What is the biggest problem with the intention theory? Now, again, if you understand the word intention, you can probably answer this question without listening. So just using logic. Okay? We do not have access to the mind of the artist. The intention is not our own, so we cannot discern it. It lacks grounding. Which one makes logically the most sense? All of you who are answering A, you're correct, and you're using good critical thinking. The biggest problem with the intention theory is we do not have access to the mind of the artist. So we're not inside the artist's head, so we cannot guess what they want to show in their painting, what feeling, what emotion they necessarily want to show. So A makes the most sense, okay? It makes more sense than B, all right? Okay, so let's have a look at 25 to 26. Remember, logic is your friend in all parts of the IELTS, okay? Listening, reading, writing. Discern, yeah, we can't observe it. We can't figure it out. It could be B, Manisha. We'll have a look at the answer key at the end and see which one fits better. I think A is the better guess, but hey, it could be. I think it's a close second. Okay, number 25. According to the host, one of the main goals in art critique is to understand a painting's something. This should be, again, very easy. Even if you didn't catch it, you can probably guess the correct answer here. Jeffrey, Manisha, Arcana, that's right. Yeah, meaning. To understand the painting's meaning. Let me just switch up my pens here. This one's running out of ink. All right. Yeah, meaning definitely sounds like it's the right word here. Meaning, okay? And the intention theory seems best equipped for this, right? Because the intention theory focuses on the meaning. The guest responds that art is not something we want it to be, but that we must also participate in critique and interpretation. Very good. There's one correct answer there for number 26. Anybody else get the correct? Yeah, Murasa, it's an E, not an A. So make sure your spelling is correct. If you get the right answer, don't lose it on spelling. Okay? Merely. Merely is a synonym for just. It's kind of a higher level vocabulary for the word just. So the guest responds that art is not just what we want it to be, but that we must also participate in critique and interpretation. Now the person says merely. So when you're looking at this kind of question in IELTS, they will say the exact word that fits into the space. So pay attention to that, okay? Just and simply are synonyms, but they're looking specifically for the word that was used by the speaker. So even though these are good synonyms, they're probably not going to give you the mark for using just or simply, okay? So careful about that. Try to catch the words on these fill in the blanks, okay? Onkar, if you didn't catch the word and you're taking a guess, so you use the word just, it's better than nothing. They might give you the point, so you can try. okay? I'm not sure if it'll be wrong. You'd have to try it out. There's only one way to know. Try, because it is a good synonym, okay? All right, so here we have the situation. Now, if you understand the intention theory, right, it's the author's intended meaning, then what is the subjective theory? So what does the word subjective mean? Okay, before we jump at the answer, let's just use our logical critical thinking here. So what does subjective mean? What is subjective meaning? What does that mean? That's right, Manisha, it's individual. So it means that it's up to the person, up to each person, right? Up to the viewer. That's right, Jeffrey, it's your opinion. It's the first person, right? The opposite is objective, and that's another way you could think of the intention, is it's the objective intended meaning of the author. If these words are new for you, definitely learn them. In academic situations, you will need to know words like subjective and intention. So write them down. Bogatti, that's another great way to define subjective, is it's the internal, unique perspective of the person. All right, so if we understand the meaning of intention, we understand the meaning of subjective, then this starts to become much, much easier to get correct. So the situation is the critic thinks critically about an artwork and judges it to have no meaning. Okay? So the intention theory, the critic is right or wrong? What do you think? If the critic thinks critically about an artwork and judges it to have no meaning, according to the critic, is it wrong or right? Wrong, because there is some sort of an intent of the painter, right? The painter has some kind of intention, so it must have some kind of meaning. Here, the critic is right because it's up to the viewer. Okay, the next one. Critic does not think critically about an artwork and judges it to have no meaning. The critic is wrong. And here, the critic is right or the critic is wrong in a subjective number 28. What do you think? The speaker says something interesting. What's important for the subjective meaning theory? So the speaker says an important piece of information. Okay, the person who wrote this book, the author, says something about this subjective meaning theory. It's his theory. He says that it's very important for everybody who's looking at the art to do what? So Arcana is saying wrong, and I think Arcana is going to be right in this case, and Sonu. I believe the answer here is wrong. Pay attention to the situation. Does not think critically about the artwork. It means that they just look at the artwork and go, there's nothing. It's got no meaning. I just looked at it for 2 seconds. The author says that it's very important for people when they're looking at art to at least look at it for a couple of seconds and really think about what's going on before they make some kind of a critique or judgment. So I think this is going to be wrong. My logic tells me that it's going to be wrong. Critic understands the author's meaning. The intention theory says critic is right or wrong. Subjective theory says the critic is right. 29, is it right or wrong? So the critic understands the author's meaning. The author painted a dog. The person looking at the art looks at it, says, hey, it's a dog. Yeah, probably right. Okay. If it's not abstract art, it could be right. All right. Let's have a look now at the last question. So number 30. This one you just simply understand or can answer by understanding the audio. So if you understood the audio, if you understood what was going on, by the way, if you missed the audio, don't worry, this is being recorded so you can listen to it again later on our YouTube channel. Also, the questions are in the stream description, so you can review the questions there. Okay, so here, the critic looks at the painting for a moment and concludes from his initial impression, so his first impression, that the painting has no aesthetic value, has no beauty. The critic has satisfied the demands of the theory, or the critic has not satisfied the demands of the theory. Okay? What do you think? A or B? Yeah, okay, be confident. So a lot of you are saying B, and it's going back to what we just talked about, right? You need to look at a piece of artwork critically. You need to think about it. So now let's just talk a little bit about this listening. I think a lot of you got a little bit scared. The topic is maybe something that's not close to you. You're not a big art critic. You don't go to art museums. You don't look at paintings. And you go, oh man, if I get something like this on IELTS, I'm finished. I'm done. Don't think like that, okay? Don't have this type of negative mindset in IELTS ever, no matter what the topic is. Just because you're not familiar with a topic doesn't mean that you can't get the answers correctly, okay? Jeffrey, you took the words right out of my mouth. So stay cool, stay calm. Remember, logic's your friend. You have vocabulary. You have strategy. Pay attention to the questions. Pay attention to the words that you understand. And keep calm, keep focused, okay? Because you can get a lot of answers correct. If you panic, if you freak out, yeah, then you're going to be in trouble, all right? So don't do that, all right? Don't do that. Okay, girls and guys, let's have a peek at the answer keys, see how we did. Again, remember, this is why you want to make sure that you get a really good score on section 1 and 2, because section 3 and 4 are going to be more difficult, okay? IELTS is a graded test, so each section becomes more and more difficult, and these sections are fishing for levels 7 to 9 students, okay? So let's have a peek at the answers, see how we did, and then count up your answers, okay? We'll do section 4 in a moment here, and if you were here for yesterday's class, you'll be able to get a full band score or an idea of your band score here, all right? So let's have a peek at the answer keys first. It's on page 180. Okay, so these were questions 21 to 30 because each section has 10 questions. So B is the correct answer for 21. B is the correct answer for 22. A is the correct answer for 23. And A is the correct answer for 24. So pretty good so far, all right? Now again, these questions, so I want you to see that 6 of these 10 questions, if you're a really good logical critical thinker, you could have probably answered correctly without listening to the audio. So that's the amazing part, okay? And that's true in the real IELTS as well, by the way. I've seen a lot of official IELTS exams, and they're very, very similar. You can get a lot of answers by just using good logic. 25, meaning, spelled like that. Make sure it's all lowercase or all uppercase. You do not want to have a big letter there because it's the middle of a sentence. 26, merely, spelled M-E-R-E-L-Y. Here, let me get this a little bit bigger for you so you're not squinting at your phones if you're using a mobile phone. 27 is wrong. 28 is wrong. 29 is right. Number 30 is B, okay? A little sneak peek at one of your answers there for section 4. So number 30 is B, okay? All right, so pretty good job there if you used your logic effectively. All right, let's now go and have a peek at section 4. Any questions about section 3? Before we get going here on section 4? No? Looks like you're all good? All right, so let's have a look at section 4. You might find this one a little bit easier. It's a little bit more physical type of topic. One big difference between section 3 and section 4, girls and guys, is that section 4 is continuous, okay? Don't expect a break in the middle of the listening for section 4. In section 4, you only have 1 question review time. That's why it's a good trick, what I told you yesterday, that if you have the chance, when you have all that instruction time and review time for section 1, if you can take a peek at section 4 just to get a good idea of what's going on, that could be helpful. All right. So this is section 4. Let's do this in a little bit of a different way. Again, just like section 3, let's have a look at these questions and try to predict what is going on here. So review these questions with me. Write no more than 2 words for each answer, okay? What phenomenon created the first roads? Though roads were necessary for the transportation of many goods, what was a much more practical thoroughfare for the transport of goods in ancient times? Let's take a second with this question. So here's another question where if you're calm, if you're letting your brain work, do its thing, let that supercomputer work its magic, you can probably figure out the answer without even listening. Can anybody tell me what you think the answer is for 32? I'm not sure what you mean, Arcana, if all options are the same. What strategy will we use? Do you want to send me an email on that and just give me some clarification if all options are the same? I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly with that one. Murasa says rivers works pretty good there, or river. Bogatti says rivers. A lot of people are saying rivers. Yeah, I would say that's a darn good guess, okay? So though roads were necessary for transportation of many goods, what was a much more practical thoroughfare? Here, not just logical thinking, but visualization. So seeing pictures in your head. This whole back massive quadrant of your brain, it's called your occipital lobe. Occipital meaning for your eye, for your vision, is your greatest processing power for your 5 senses. So you want to use that. You want to visualize. Close your eyes and imagine. People are using roads to transport goods. What else are they using? Well, they're not flying airplanes yet. I highly doubt it. So there's only really one other way, by boats. And what do boats use? Water. What kind of water did most people use for boats back in the old days? Probably rivers. They weren't really ocean going, all right? So you can probably figure that one out. All right? You should be able to. Which of these roads, I know there was a little bit of a cheat there, Arcana, but hopefully not everybody saw that. I'm on maybe by sea, but I think river makes even more sense. Which of these roads total approximately 75,000 kilometers? The United States interstate system, the ancient Egyptian road network, ancient Roman network, the Silk Road, okay? And then here you have A, B, C, so there's multiple correct answers. You have to listen and figure out what those are. 34, 35, what were 2 benefits of the Roman system of roads? Economic prosperity, increased mobility, rapid technological advances, and so on. Don't worry too much about the answers for multiple choice. 36 to 40, choose your answers from the box. You may always pay very careful attention to this note, by the way. You may use any letter more than once. Applies to ancient roads, applies to the subway system, future transportation, and all of the above. Increases economic activity, responsible for the growth of modern cities, used for military transportation, moves human capital, will move humans at unprecedented speeds around the ground, around the world. Okay, let's have a look at these, okay? Again, a little bit of logic, okay? Let's try to use a little bit of logic. Increases economic activity. Ancient roads, subway system, future transport, or all of them? What do you think? Logically, if we're talking about roads, and hopefully you realize that, this section 4 listening is about roads. Increases economic activity. Do you think ancient roads increased economic activity? Think logical. You think subway systems increase economic activity? Oh, come on, girls and guys. You got more going on upstairs than you think. Okay? Talha, good on you. Ancient times. I got some meat. I just killed a bear. Okay? I got some meat. I have a road. I can go to the other village and trade them for some eggs. Is the road helping me to increase my economy with the other village? Yeah, I think it is. Subway system. Okay, people are zipping around underneath the city, going to work, going to school. Is it increasing the economy of that city? Yeah, probably. Is that going to disappear in the future? Probably not, so it probably applies to all of them, okay? My logical guess for 36 would absolutely be D, all right? So I hope you girls and guys are thinking D is most likely the right answer. 37, responsible for the growth of modern cities. What do you think? Number 37, girls and guys, what do you think? Logically, which one of these, A, B, C, or D? Guys, girls, pay attention to the question, modern cities, not future cities. It's not future cities, okay? Not the cities of tomorrow. Maybe some of you are watching too many science fiction movies, okay? Modern cities means the cities of today. Okay, you definitely should not be thinking future here. Responsible for the growth of modern cities. It's present tense, it means it's happened, and it means it's our day today, now. Subway systems, okay, that's probably the best one. Yeah, there's no audio yet, Sahil. I'm just getting you to use your logic, okay? I want to show you really that you can answer roughly 50% of the questions in IELTS listening and in IELTS reading by using powerful logic, okay? Powerful critical thinking, visualization, and logic, as long as you understand the words, more or less, will give you about 50% of the correct answers, okay? Used for military transport, ancient roads, subway systems, future transport, or all the above. Military transport. Military means soldiers. Okay? Or the soldiers... Guys and girls, yeah, exactly. Used for means the past. So very good, Manisha and Nightique and Arcana for catching that. Absolutely. I mean, you don't really see too many soldiers riding subways, not these days anyway, right? I don't know about future, what they're going to be using then. Your best logical guess is probably A, okay? Ancient roads, all right? A is probably your best guess. Used for. Okay, moves human capital. So it moves human capital. It means moves the value of humans around. Number 39, what would be your best guess? The audio in your IELTS test center was not working. It was going, you couldn't hear what was going on. 39, what moves human capital? Future transport, subway systems, or ancient roads? Well, I definitely know that a subway is full of thousands of people, and it happens today, so I would guess B, okay? Like a train or a subway would be your best guess. Think about Tokyo. Think about some other cities like New York, where you have subways that are transporting thousands and thousands of people, right? Probably your best guess. Will move humans at unprecedented speeds around the world. Number 40. Number 40. So notice the tenses here, and a couple of you got really smart there and said, hey, that's past tense, that's present tense. What is that? Future tense, right. So C is probably going to be a really good guess for number 40, okay? So yeah, Hyperloops by Tesla, for example, Nightique. Exactly, that's what we're thinking about here. So again, girls and guys, going into your IELTS exams this weekend, especially those of you who are frantically doing your last-minute studies and preparations, mark my words that if you have good critical thinking, visualization, and logic, you can get 40, 50% of answers on IELTS just from the questions, okay? Without even having to go as far as the audio or reading. Just be very careful. Listen carefully, read carefully, but do know that logic is your friend. Okay, girls and guys, so let's have a listen to the actual audio, and make sure we're not completely out to lunch on what we're thinking here. Everybody get your pencil and paper ready. Please do not write your answers into the chat. Wait till the end. Be fair to everyone. Let them give their own answers. So here we go. Again, jumping back to our Academic IELTS Help website and going on to CD6 Track 4. Here we go.
Now turn to section 4. Take some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
So notice here you have to look at all 10 questions, not like the other sections.
Listening section 4. You will hear a lecture about road infrastructure and its connection to economic prosperity. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Roads have been connected to economic prosperity for millennia. The first roads were thought to have been created by repeated animal grazing and then utilized by humans as ready-made routes for travel between adjacent lands. These roads, evidence for which exists going back 12,000 years, were likely not connected so much to economic prosperity as to survival itself. These roads allowed hunter-gatherers faster access to greater swaths of land. The first paved roads were used in ancient Egypt about 4,500 years ago. Historians theorize that these roads were the first roads used for trade in our history. These roads also would have been used to transport items, such as building supplies. Though rivers were much more practical thoroughfares for the transport of goods, certain goods from certain areas could not be transported by boat, and this necessitated the creation of roads for economic reasons. The Silk Road, though not precisely a road, is one of the most famous trade routes in history. Composed of many types of road, the Silk Road stretched from China and Thailand in the east, all the way through the Middle East and terminating in Western Europe. These different routes of the Silk Road brought myriad items from the east to the west, including, of course, silk. This brought economic prosperity to China and surrounding regions for many centuries. The Silk Road was so valuable for commerce that it persisted for over 1,500 years. The Roman Empire was the first major manufacturer of a system of roads. At its height, the Roman Empire contained 29 major roads, totaling over 75,000 kilometers. That's enough road to go around the world twice. Notably, this is almost the precise total length of the modern United States interstate highway system. These roads connected the vast lands of the empire and brought an intertwined economic prosperity to the diverse regions of the empire. Furthermore, the roads were used for military transportation, giving the Romans a massive strategic advantage over their less advanced adversaries. Through the Middle Ages, roads continued to be built and used for trade and commerce, though technological advances were virtually non-existent. Though tar-based roads were used briefly in the Arab Empire in the 8th century, this technology would not take off for another millennium. Today, our roads and highways connect our communities, countries, and economies. They are the modern trade routes by which we are all connected to each other. The modern world would not be possible without the vast expanse of road infrastructure. One interesting development in the history of road infrastructure was the advent of underground systems. The first such system, the London Underground, opened in 1863. Such subterranean routes greatly increase the volume of human life that a city can sustain, thus increasing that city's economic output. London would not be a fraction of the economic powerhouse it is today without its underground rail system. The same can be said for virtually every other major economic centre. Underground systems are the next generation of economic generators. While roads move goods which create economic prosperity, underground systems move human capital, which creates further economic prosperity. What is the next great advance in ground transportation? Some futurists have theorized about a system of tubes propelled by air pressure or other means, which would transport individuals vast distances in short times. Such a system could move humans at unprecedented speeds, perhaps with an economic footprint far less than that of subterranean networks. Such tubes could even be built underwater. Imagine such a system connecting New York to London or Tokyo to San Francisco. It would be incredible. Whatever lies ahead for humanity, roads have gotten us to where we are, and they are very likely to play a prominent role in getting us to where we will be next, in one form or another.
That is the end of section 4. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
So you have half a minute after section 4 to check your answers, and then of course you have another 10 minutes to take all of your 40 answers and put them into your answer sheet. During that 10 and a half minutes, you want to pay very, very careful attention to your spelling, and then of course if you missed some questions or if you weren't sure about some of your answers, that's where you really want to engage your critical thinking and your logic to catch those. Now, girls and guys, you're probably thinking, especially if you watch the last few minutes here with me, that, hey, that wasn't so hard. I think that was easier than section 3. But that's because I already gave you so much information about logic, you're warmed up. Believe me that if you just listen to this without all of the explanation, without all of this back and forth instruction, you might have found that fairly difficult. But because we did take these steps, because we did engage that logical part of your brain, you probably said that, hey, that's not too bad. And if you did, that's great. Okay, let's go through the answers. So write no more than 2 words for each answer. 31, if you've been here the whole class, you probably saw a little sneak peek of that answer in the answer sheet. What's the correct answer? 2 words for 31. Okay, what phenomenon created the first roads? Economic prosperity cullet is definitely not correct. The correct answer is being thrown up there right now by Murasa, Bogatti, Manisha, Reno, and everybody else. It does require both words here, so you need animal grazing. Just grazing or animals is not enough. You need to have both, so it's animal grazing, okay? Okay, so if you had animal grazing, that's correct. All lowercase letters is okay. All capital letters is okay. Animal grazing like that would be okay as well, because here's a question and it's an answer. Okay, it's not a sentence. Though roads were necessary for the transport of many goods, what was a much more practical thoroughfare for the transport of goods in ancient times? The speaker says it kind of in a very subtle way, but then he reassures it by saying boats. So here the correct answer is rivers with an S, girls and guys. Rivers are countable, okay? And it was a plural. You do need rivers, okay? You need the S there. It's not just one river that everybody took their boat on. That would have been a very interesting geography of ancient times if it just had one giant river like the Tigris or Euphrates or Amazon, but it's not. It's multiple rivers. So rivers it is. Okay, you need that S. Pay attention to your plurals. Don't lose easy marks. Okay. All right, let's have a peek at this one. Which of these roads total approximately 75,000 kilometers? I think logic would actually help you with this one as well. Is it 1, 2, 3, and 4? Is it 1 and 3? Or is it 1, 3, and 4? So is it A, B, or C? Don't guess. Go on what you heard. The United States interstate system, how many think the United States interstate system has 75,000 kilometers? So again, I'm going to engage your logic here a little bit, okay? The United States interstate system, does it have 75,000 kilometers of road? Interstate system are the major highways. So is A number 1 good? Yeah? Does it have 75,000? Yes. Thank you, Bogatti. Yes. Ancient Egyptian roads. Did ancient Egyptian roads stretch 75,000? So number 2, was that 75,000 long? Did we talk about ancient Egyptian roads? No, we didn't even really talk about that, right? So that's not possible. Number 3, the ancient Roman road network, was that 75,000 kilometers? Number 3, was that one 75,000 kilometers? Yes, so yes here, yes here. How about the Silk Road? Did anybody hear anything about the Silk Road stretching 75,000 kilometers? Specifically, 75,000 kilometers for the Silk Road. Did you hear that this was 75,000 kilometers? If you heard it, you were listening to something else than what I was. You heard about the Silk Road, but you didn't hear about how long it is. So don't add information. Don't add your own information. You have the United States, right? Okay. So you have the United States. Okay, that's my drawing of the U.S. It's a terrible map, I know. And then you have your European map, something like that, right? Let's get Italy in there. Let's not cut Italy out. Okay, so you have Europe like that. US and Europe are, let's just say for argument's sake, roughly the same size. So you have the Roman Empire here. Okay. Rome and actually, well, you'd have it down here somewhere a little bit closer to Italy. But then you have all of these roads stretching all across Europe, all across down into Egypt and so on. Now you have modern US, and of course you have Washington, you have New York, you have Florida, you have Miami, you have Los Angeles, San Francisco. Okay, so you got some major cities on the east and west coast, and you have roads going, I'm just going to keep it simple, all the way around like this. Okay, if you're using visualization and you can see Europe and Rome and all of the roads that stretched across the Roman Empire, and you can see the US and you see all these major roads, you should be able to logically figure out that these are the two that would make sense for 75,000 kilometers, and you should choose A as your answer. Okay? So, got to be careful. You have to make sure that there's a clear reference there. The Silk Road stretched from China all the way roughly to Europe, but it was more or less just one road with lots of little roads coming off of it. And it doesn't say the Silk Road network, it just says the Silk Road. Notice here it actually says network and interstate system. You don't see the word network or system there. So again, if you're going through your logical critical thinking, you should arrive at the conclusion that A is going to be your best choice. Okay? Hopefully you get that, all right? Again, this is what you want to practice at home before you sit the IELTS, all right? Okay, girls and guys. So, questions 34 to 35. What were two benefits of the Roman system of roads? Economic prosperity for the city of Rome, increased mobility of Roman armies, rapid technological advances, the importation of luxury goods from China, broad economic prosperity for the empire. You have to get both of these correct to pick up both of your points. Or, yeah, is it? Yep. So here you would put 1 into space 34, 1 into space 35. The order doesn't matter. Yeah, definitely they said, hey, the Roman armies could move around. That's one of the things that gave them the advantage. Pay attention to the words. Okay? City of Rome. Khaled, do you want to change your answer? City of Rome is just a city. Here we're talking about something much larger. We're talking about the Empire of Rome. So B and E, for those of you paying attention to those questions. Absolutely. Okay. So this one's a bit tricky because economic prosperity for Rome would be correct, but City of Rome is not correct. Okay. Again, remember, IELTS is not just a test of your English, it's a test of your thinking. Okay. And it's kind of a sneaky way, girls and guys, that Western countries are filtering for brilliant minds or smart thinkers, okay? I won't hide that fact from you. It just is the way it is. Okay, so here we go. 36 to 40. Again, going back to what we did before we listened, increases economic activity. Is it A, ancient roads, B, subways, C, future transport, or D, all of them? 36, economic activity. Let's see. Okay. I think it's still D, girls and guys. I think the speaker there really focused in on that answer, said economic, economic, economic. So ancient roads, like the roads of Rome, economic activity. Absolutely, we just answered that actually. And these ones as well. Responsible for the growth of modern cities, A, B, C, or D, number 37. Yeah, subway systems, okay? So, believe me, there's not going to be too many surprises if you were here for the earlier part of this section where we used our logic. 38, used for military transport, ancient roads, subway systems, future transport. Number 38, I'd probably still stick with my answer from before, yeah, A, ancient roads. Moves human capital. What's a big metal tube full of humans? 39, moves human capital. Yeah, okay, I can get that everybody's giving the right answers there. Manisha, yep, good. Yep, moves human capital. Everybody who's answering B is correct. Subway systems, right? It's a tube full of humans, worth value. Girls and guys, you should know that your birth certificate and your death certificate are on banknotes. So if you have a birth certificate, if you've seen your birth certificate, it is a type of banknote, and you have value, okay? Each human life has value, and I don't just mean that in the nice moral sense. I mean that for your country, every human that's born and gets a birth certificates are written on banknotes, and there's a deposit made in the government of your country when you're born, and unfortunately when you die there's a withdrawal that's made. So humans are measured as having value by each nation. Don't believe me? Have a look at your birth certificate and you'll notice that it looks very, very similar to a banknote. Okay, so human capital, it's a bunch of human banknotes in a tube called a subway. Will move humans at unprecedented speeds around the world. As we discussed, will is the future. Talking about super high speeds, it's got to be the future. Take C, okay? So definitely take C for that one. All right, so girls and guys, let's check the answer keys here. And see how you did. Now, of course, you did have a bit of assistance from me here, but that's what these classes are for. Remember that in the official IELTS, it will be a little bit more difficult because it's up to you to go along with the pacing of the listening. And unfortunately, I am not there to hold your hand for these answers and dictate the logic. So you have to do that on your own. But believe me, your minds are gorgeous, okay? So you can do it. It's in you. The power dwells within each one of you, without sounding too much like Master Yoda. All right. 30 to 34, or 30 to 40. So 31. Animal grazing. Note the spelling. If you have that, it's correct. Rivers. Note the S. It's a plural. Okay. 33 is A, looking good. 34, 35, B and E, any order. The order will not matter for that kind of a question. 36 is D, 37 B, 38 A, 39 is B, and 40 is C. Okay, so those are the correct answers. Girls, guys, add up your scores. So add up your total raw scores. If you were here for yesterday's class, please combine your score from yesterday's class with today's class, and then tell me what you got, and I'll give you your band score, okay? All right? Thanks for that feedback, Jeffrey. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, is what you say? All right. So Sonu, 22 out of 40. Let's have a look, okay? On our websites, girls and guys, at the bottom, there's an IELTS band score calculator. So when you're doing your practice tests, if you're wondering what it is that you got, just go to our band score calculator and then type it in. So Sonu, you said 22 out of 40. Let me just make sure I'm in the listening, not the reading here. Yeah, it's listening. Okay, so 22 out of 40 is a 5.5, okay? So if you got 22 out of 40, it's a 5.5. I'll darken the screen for this because the background's a bit brighter. Okay, there. Let's see what other scores you have. 14 out of 20 Instagram. I'll just double that up for you. Let's say you got 28 or probably closer to 30 because section 1 and 2 are easier. So if you got 30, you got a 7 Instagram. Let's say you roughly got 30. Bugatti, 30 would be a 7. Okay. Harmile, I'll do some writing classes in the next 1 or 2 days here. So I'll touch on that topic. Okay. Arcana, can you send me an email on yesterday's question? I can't just jump back there right now. It's a little bit awkward. So just send me an email specifically what you mean, and then I can give you that, okay? Arcana, you got 31. 31 is still a 7, okay? You got to start getting up into the higher 30s for those 7.58, 8.59s. Baljeet, you got 27. By the way, again, sponsors, please remember that tomorrow there's a sponsor chat only special class at 3 o'clock, a little bit earlier, for maps, task 1 maps. Had a request for that. Okay. All right. I'll check out that number 7. Just send me an email on the specific question if you remember it. Tanush, 24. 24 would be a 6. Okay. So 24 is a 6. Okay, girls and guys, again, if you want to, you're very welcome, Tanush. If you want to check your score, just go to our website, go to the bottom, click on the score calculator, type it in. You also have it for your academic reading as well. If you're doing general, please go to the general website because it's calculated differently, especially for the reading section. Of course, listening is the same, but the reading is calculated differently. So make sure you're on the right page. Okay? Okay, girls and guys, that's it for today. The biggest tip that I want to leave you with is that logic is your friend. You have it. It's in your brain. It's one of our most powerful tools that puts us at the top of the food chain, or so we like to believe, on this beautiful planet Earth that we live on. So use that logic in IELTS. It is your most powerful weapon there, as well as in other parts of your life. Be sure to practice it at home, okay? It's even more useful when you're dealing with a foreign language, okay? Now, I know that a lot of you are writing your exams again tomorrow and the day after. I think some of you already had your speaking test today. So I want to give you a chance. Anybody have any questions that you're a little bit worried about before I say goodbye? So here's your chance to ask me your concerns if you're going to be doing the IELTS today or tomorrow. Anybody freaking out about something that you think I can help with? Just shoot it out at me. There's a little bit of latency, but that's okay. You're worried about the reading section, Bugatti. What's your main concern? What are you most worried about? Again, remember some of the key things about the Instagram, if you sent me an email a few days ago and you haven't gotten a response, I probably missed it for some reason, so send it again, okay? Bugatti, if you're worried about the reading, remember that skimming and scanning are not the best techniques for high scores. You need to use logic. You need to use good reading comprehension. Use critical reading, what, why, how, active reading, okay? True, false, not given. Bugatti, there is absolutely a couple of lessons on this channel for the true, false, not given part of the reading section. I highly, highly suggest do a search on our channel for academic English help, true, false, not given, reading, IELTS, and you'll find that video. And if you follow those steps, those strategies for true, false, not given, then that will make it a lot easier for you, okay? Arcana, the summary completion from the box. Remember that you want to try to complete the sentences with your own word first, from your own mind, and then have a look at the matching word from the box, okay? Now, if you're having a lot of difficulty, look for the paraphrasing in the text that matches, and then you should be able to find that word, okay? You're very welcome, Bugatti. Tanush, there will be a live session tomorrow. Most likely, I'll look at a reading passage or at a writing task 2. It will be the same time, so 16:30 Central European time, Budapest time. There's also a class at 15 o'clock. That's for sponsor chat only. You can view it, you just can't chat unless you're a sponsor, okay? And if you're a sponsor, please be there. It's your request, okay? Manisha, reading matching endings, of course, you just want to read the questions, not the answers, because they give you more answers. Some of them are wrong and confusing. Grammar is one of the best ways to know that you're on the right track. So you got to make sure that it makes sense with the grammar that you're matching together. It should be a correct English sentence. And matching endings, Manisha, also think about the what, why, how aspect of each one. So when you look at the first half of the sentence, think, okay, is this a what, is this a why, or is this a how? And then when you match the end to that first section or first phrase, then also think, okay, does it match as a what, or a how, or a why? If that doesn't make sense, Manisha, have a peek at that in your course. There's an explanation there, okay? Navneet, how to manage your reading, your time in the reading section. First of all, Navneet, have a look at all 3 of the titles in the reading section. If you're doing the academic, doing general, have a look at all 5. And then pick out the one that you think is the closest to what you do, what your job is, what you have experience with, because that's the one that you're most likely going to be familiar with and be able to comprehend the easiest, and then spend no more than 10 minutes on reading and use the other 10 minutes for your answers. Okay, girls and guys, I know you have a lot of other questions. I have to get going. I do wish you the best of luck, especially if you're writing those IELTS exams this weekend. If you have more questions, don't be shy. Send me an email. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. And I wish you good studies. Turn on those logical, critical thinking brain caps of yours, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Relax, get some good sleep, have a nice breakfast before you go to your exam, and you'll do well. Okay, remember, the sun will shine tomorrow, all right? Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for watching. Again, join us, sponsor us, visit our websites. I'm sure you'll find lots of help. Bye for now.